Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on angles. An angle is formed when two straight lines meet at a point. Let us look at the angle below. Now here are the two straight lines. There's one there, and they're meeting at a point, and here we have the angle. Okay, so the angle is inside here. Let's have a further look at this. The size of an angle is measured in degrees. There are 360 degrees, and that's the short way of writing it, in a full rotation. So here we have a full rotation starting at this point here, going all the way around to the starting point, and that's 360 degrees. We can easily see that the small angle to the left is a fraction of the full rotation. Can you see here? So we haven't rotated too far. We've only had a very small rotation, and that's why this angle here is a fraction of a full rotation. So the space between the two lines represent an amount of turning. The turning can be clockwise or anti-clockwise. The amount of turning is the angle. So the size of this turning here, that depends on the size of the angle. Let's explore that a little further. Let's look at the types of angles we have. In grade 3, the angles are named according to the type of corner made by the two lines. The first thing we'll do is we'll look at some examples of a sharp angle. So this is a sharp angle because that corner there is sharp. You can see it's very pointy. So if the angle is between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, that's called a sharp angle. The blunt angle, that's between 90 degrees and 180. Can you see that this angle here is not as pointy? It doesn't have a sharp point like the other one, so we call it a blunt angle as long as it's between 90 and 180. The square angle is exactly 90 degrees, so that's the amount of turning. 90 degrees, and you have that little symbol there, that means it's a square angle. So some examples of sharp angles: 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 55 degrees. Can you see how that's less than 90? And 56 degrees. So all these angles here are less than 90, and they have a very sharp point, and that's why we call them sharp angles. Examples of blunt angles: 130 degrees, 120 degrees, which is greater than 90, and 112 degrees, also greater than 90. So you can see the angles here, those points, see those points there? They're a little bit blunt, they're not as sharp as the other angles. Let's look at some examples of these angles in real life. Let's look at the sharp angles first. See here, you've got the minute hand and the hour hand. When it's 2 o'clock, that angle in there, because that is very, very sharp here, we call that a sharp angle, because that angle is pretty small, isn't it? It's less than 90 degrees. So there's an example. When the clock shows 2 o'clock, those two arms form a sharp angle. This scissors here, that's a sharp angle there, because see those two blades there like that? That's a small angle, so that's also a sharp angle. Look at the dartboard here. Excuse me. For example, see that angle there? That's very sharp, isn't it? That's only a very small angle. And so are all the others. All these other small angles here, they're called sharp angles. And here's an example of a pizza. A little slice cut out from a pizza. That point there is pretty sharp, so that's called a sharp angle. Blunt angles. Now here's an example of a time on a wall clock again, showing 20 past 11. So can you see that that angle there, from there to there, here is where the two lines meet, and that angle is a blunt angle. See the coat hanger? That's a blunt angle there. See that? There, it's quite easy to see why that's blunt. On this gate here, see that line there? So it's this line and that line. They form a blunt angle. Have a look at the roof truss. See this part of the roof truss here and that one? the actual roof itself, that's a blunt angle. And also the scissors, when you open it right up, with that blade there and here, that angle there is a blunt angle. Some square angles. Perfect example is the way that the tennis court is ruled up. Those angles there are square angles. Also, when you look at a window, plenty of examples of square angles in a window. Also this staircase, look at these designs here. See how they come across? Horizontal and vertical, horizontal, vertical. Plenty of examples there of right angles, or square angles as we call them. See that there, along there and down there? Right, they're perfect examples of square angles. Also here, see the rise here for the step, and when you go across there, they're all right angles. And the door presents a perfect example of many right angles. So we've seen some different types of angles, and we've given some examples in real life.